You know, we're always told that the most important tools for an engineer are things you can code or build. But what if I told you the most critical asset in your career isn't a piece of software at all, but a skill you use every single day? So today, let's talk about communication and why it's the ultimate tool in your professional toolkit.
So let me ask you, what's the most powerful tool an engineer has? Is it, I don't know, your favorite coding environment, maybe some super complex machine learning model? That shiny new processor you just dropped into your rig?
Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Nope, it's not something you can code or build in a lab. Actually, it's something way more fundamental. It's communication. That's it. I'm talking about the ability to break down super complex ideas, to actually work well with your team, and to present what you've found. That's what separates a good engineer from a truly great one. Seriously, it's your career superpower.
All right, so every great project starts with a solid plan, right? A blueprint. Well, communication is exactly the same. So let's dive into that core schematic.
At its heart, communication is just about exchanging information. But here's the catch. It's only successful if the person on the other end actually understands the message clearly. I mean, think about it. If you fire off a complex technical spec and your team totally gets it wrong, that's a failed transmission. Communication didn't actually happen. It's just noise at that point.
And just like a data packet, that transmission follows a really clear process. The sender has an idea. They encode it into a message, let's say an email. That message travels through a channel to the receiver, who then has to decode it. But, and this is crucial, the process isn't really complete until you get that feedback loop. This is basically the TCP handshake of human interaction, right? The receiver confirms they got the message and understood it, closing the loop and making sure that packet of information landed perfectly.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint down. Now let's look at the different kinds of signals we're actually sending. Because our messages really come in two main forms, and you've got to master both to build a solid communication toolkit. So on one hand, you've got your verbal communication. This is the code, right? The actual words you use, whether you're speaking them in a tense design review or typing them out carefully in a technical report. But on the other hand, you have this silent but incredibly powerful world of nonverbal communication. And this is everything else. Your confident posture during a presentation, the eye contact you make in a meeting, even something as simple as your handshake. It's like this unspoken data stream that's always running alongside your words. And look, here's the thing you absolutely have to remember. Your body language can either boost your message or completely sabotage it. I mean, if you're pitching this world-changing idea, but you're all slouched over, avoiding eye contact, your body language is literally screaming, "I don't believe in this." It's undermining every single word you say. Nonverbals often broadcast the real truth. Okay, so let's go a little deeper. Beyond just words and gestures, there are these subtle, kind of hidden rules that govern how we interact. You can think of these as the advanced settings for communication, especially when it comes to how we use space and time. This first one is called Proxemics, which is basically the language of space. I mean, you wouldn't stand like 2 inches away from a senior engineer during a code review, would you? Of course not. That's your brain's natural understanding of social distance. In the office, keeping to that 4 to 12-foot zone, well, it just signals professionalism and respect. And just as important is chronemics, which is all about what we communicate through our use of time. Think about it. Hitting your deadlines, showing up on time for those daily stand-ups, even just answering emails quickly, these aren't just good habits. They are powerful forms of communication. Every single one sends a clear message. I'm reliable, I'm organized, and I respect your time. But of course, communication isn't always perfect. Things go wrong. So let's talk about barriers. Think of them like system failures, or maybe bugs in the code of a conversation that can totally corrupt the message. And these bugs can be anything. You've got physical barriers, right? Like trying to have a conversation next to a screaming server rack. There are psychological ones, like that crushing stress you feel before a huge deadline that just makes it impossible to focus. And of course, there are mechanical issues, like a choppy video call right when you're in the middle of a critical meeting. Any one of these can just destroy the whole transmission. So how do we debug all these communication failures? Well, the solutions are actually pretty simple, but they take real, conscious effort. First, use clear, simple language. Just cut out the jargon when you don't need it. Second, practice active listening. And I mean really listening to understand, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And probably the most important of all, always close that feedback loop. A simple question like, does that make sense, is one of the most powerful debugging tools you have.
All right, let's get practical. How do we actually apply all this? Let's talk about building the specific writing and speaking toolkits that we as engineers need every single day. When it comes to writing, it really does all come back to the basics. Look, mastering grammar and sentence structure isn't just about passing some English class. It's about building technical reports and docs that are crystal clear and can't be misinterpreted. In our world, a single misplaced comma or a vague phrase can literally lead to huge, costly mistakes and massive project delay. And it's the same deal with speaking. The mechanics are absolutely crucial. Things like clear pronunciation, stressing the right words, and using the right intonation, they make sure your brilliant ideas are not just heard, but that they're actually understood and valued. You know, a rising tone for a question versus a falling one for a statement. That can be the difference between looking confident and creating total confusion.
So here's the bottom line. All of these tools, writing clearly, speaking effectively, understanding nonverbal cues, they are not optional nice-to-haves. They are absolutely essential. For nailing your job interviews, for working with a team without pulling your hair out, for giving presentations that actually get you noticed, and, at the end of the day, for building the career you really want.
And really, this all comes back to one simple idea. Your whole job as an engineer is to solve complex problems. But hey, if you can't explain the problem or the solution clearly, you're basically stuck on an island of confusion. Good communication, that's the bridge you build to get yourself and your entire team over to the other side, to a place of clarity and success. So, as we wrap this up, I want you to think about this for a second. Looking at everything we've just covered, from active listening and body language all the way to your technical writing, which tool in your communication kit needs a little sharpening? What's the one thing you're going to start working on today?